Okay, welcome back. We're on page 230 talking about the precedence diagramming method. This is the method that is used internally by Microsoft Project to do their Gantt charts. Okay, so let's talk about these task dependencies, and I'll try to give some examples. This is, by the way, this is a good ripe material for test questions, so kind of pay attention. So, the four different types of dependencies. The first one is fairly obvious, the finish to start. So basically, if this was college courses, this would be a prerequisite. Okay? You cannot have this class until you've completed this class. Okay? It's kind of simple. Task A, so I can't start task 2 until task 1 is complete. Okay, cool. And so the example that I've been giving in the construction, I cannot start putting the drywall up until the electrician is finished. Because he's not going to be poking holes in my dang stuff afterwards. Okay. So finish or start. That's a very, very common which one of these. Next one is start to start, which means I cannot start a task until some other tasks start. We basically have to start together. And I guess from a class perspective, you could say that in order to take this class, you must also take this other class in the same semester. Okay, a concurrent course requirement. You must take this math course and this English course at the same time in the same semester. Okay, so start to start. And there's not that many of those. There's a couple. Finish to finish. Now, I kind of like this one. This one basically talks about I cannot end one of the tasks until the other one ends. Using the school as an example, this would be, for example, I'm doing your grading. Okay, I can't finish your final grades until after you've taken the final exam. So I'm grading all along, but the grading does not end until this other task up here ends. After you've taken the final, then I can finish your grading. Make sense? Okay, cool. The next one is not all that common, and that's the start to finish. It talks about I can't start task 1 until I said it wrong. But anyway, I can't start task 2 until task 1 starts. It's kind of weird. Again, I don't see this very often, so I don't have a really good analogy. But the bottom line is these are the 4 different task dependencies. Okay. All right. So moving along on page 232, they talk about estimating the activity resources. Okay, now stop right here. We are not estimators, okay? This is not what this course is about. In fact, I have this really cool thing. I use construction a lot as an analogy. Well, construction estimators are $57,000 they're kind of high paid people. I have a relative who is a construction estimator for a pipeline company, and that's all she does is do project estimates, for bidding for contracts. That's it, nonstop, and practically everything's automated, and they know exactly what the crew size is, and how many backhoes they need, and how tough is the soil, and all the rest of that crap. So that's not what we're doing here. I'm not going to teach you how to be an estimator. This is a course on project management as a whole. So they're going to give you some hints and some guidelines to follow on how to do, how many people and much material and equipment is going to be required. But that's it, okay? We're not going to be teaching you how to do estimating. Okay, so having said that, people, equipment, and material is what we're talking about. They give you some guidance by saying, here's some questions that you should ask when you're trying to come up with these resources. One of them is, how difficult is this? Is this tough? And going back to construction, because construction makes it perfectly easy. Okay, I'm trying to build a swimming pool, okay? And I'm in nice, low alluvial soils, and they can just pull a backhoe out there and just dig a hole with no trouble at all. Or I'm on top of the hill with 18-inch slabs of limestone, and I want to put a swimming pool in. Is it going to be a little tougher to put the swimming pool in solid rock compared to dirt? Yeah. Okay, so you need to be asking, how difficult is this? Okay, and then is there anything unique about a particular task that perhaps you're not aware of? And the example I like to use is minimum crew size. And again, I'm using from construction industry because it's just so much easier to talk about construction. I'm doing high voltage electrician. You don't just send a guy out to go jump up on a pole and redo a transformer by himself. No, absolutely not. It's a minimum crew size of 2. I'm digging a ditch, and we're deep down. It's what's called a confined space, a trench, and I've got somebody doing a pipeline up to a house. No, I cannot have a guy in the hole without having a guy standing outside the hole. Minimum crew size of 2. So those kinds of things. There's anything unusual about this that you need to be aware of, and it could be you might be surprised by that. And the other one, of course, is the history of similar projects. If you've done, again, using construction, if you've done residential construction forever, then you basically know how long it takes to put native stone up versus brick. Brick goes faster. It's smaller, it's lighter, they're all uniform size, and it goes like an assembly line. Native stone, well, they'll be chipping, and they're going to be cutting, and they're going to be different sizes. It's just going to take a little bit longer. And so, yeah, you need to know those kinds of things. The availability to do the work. In other words, how busy are your people now before the project starts? Can you even do it? Do you have enough slack in the schedule to actually perform this task? Let's say you are, again, construction. You're already building 5 houses, and somebody comes in and says, hey, we need another house. Are you going to say, sure? Or are you going to say, I just don't have the people to do 6 houses. I'll let this one go. And then the last one is, do you have the capability? Okay, for example, construction again. All right, I was putting together a house, and I wanted a brick chimney, okay, all the way up. And the contractor said, none of my masons are certified for high work. They can do brick on the walls, but they can't do the brick high because they don't have that certification. And I went, so what do I do? And he says, well, we can put siding up there. And I went, okay. And so we changed the plans. But the point is, do you have the skill sets? Do you have the certifications? Do you have a licensed plumber? Do you have a licensed electrician? Do you have all the things you need to know? Particularly with regard with licensing. Okay. So the capability to do the work, it could be that you need to contract out pieces. Okay, I can do all this except for this. And so therefore I'm going to have somebody come in and do that part for me. Okay, cool. So one more time, just like we had a work breakdown structure, they're recommending something kind of sort of similar. They call it a resource breakdown structure. And basically it's used by categories. In other words, you don't normally go down to a person. You say carpenter or finish carpenter or electrician or plumber or whatever. In other words, a group of people that have those skills. And so if, for example, you have 15 carpenters on your crew, but you're doing 3 houses, so that means 5 carpenters over here and 5 carpenters over here. You could front load them, have 10 carpenters over here one day, and then no carpenters one day, right? You need to know, right, what are the numbers of carpenters you have available, okay? And then, how experienced are they? I mean, you could have a very seasoned crew, or you could have, in the book they talk about, junior employees or interns that are in there that, quite frankly, you're going to take a little bit longer to do than normal. So you need to kind of know those kinds of things. And so, for example, are you going to pad the schedule a little bit because you have a bunch of people who haven't done this work before? Yeah, probably. Okay. So that's estimating activity resources. Is it really estimating the activity resources? No. That would take an entire course just on how to do estimating. But this is the rule. These are some guidance, some rules, some hints on how you would go about doing it. So, continuing, estimating activity duration on page 233. Okay. So, this is a little weird. So there's a couple of terms in here that you're going to have to just wrap your head around. All right, so pay attention. All right, the duration is the actual amount of time it's going to take to do that, not the actual number of hours it took to do that. And if you're going, wait, is that what you just said? All right, the example in the book is an excellent one. If somebody said, how long is it going to take you to read that book? You probably would not say, it's going to take me 6 hours to read the book. Because that's how long it's going to take. It's going to take you 6 hours. You're probably going to tell them, it's going to take me about 2 weeks to read the book. Because you have other things to do. See what I'm saying? Okay, one more time. So the duration is the actual amount of time, like in reading a book. It's only going to take me 6 hours to read this book. I just can't do it all in one day. I can only do a little bit. It's going to take me 2 weeks to read this book. Although the amount of clock time, if I had a stopwatch, the stopwatch time, the amount of effort time is going to be like 6 hours. But I'm not going to tell them I'm going to do it 6 hours. I'm going to give them the elapsed days. Okay. All right. So one more time. The amount of work plus the elapsed time. So the work takes a total of 5 days, but I don't have to do it all in 5 days. I'm giving them 10 days to do it in. So I have 10 days of actual work plus 5 days for getting it done for a total of 10 days. And so there's some terms that you use that we talk about. There's float, and there's lift, and there's pad, all sorts of weird words that describe that difference. Okay, so you kind of sort of got it. It's not so when you're putting together the activities, you want to know the actual how long is it going to take to do this? Not stopwatch, but elapsed time. You know, that's what's going to be going into the schedule. Maybe I didn't describe it all that well, but it's in the book, so kind of read it in the book. Okay, cool. All right. So one more time, just because it will only take 5 man hours to do a task, I'm not going to put 5 hours on the schedule because I will not have the ability to do them all sequential. It might take me an entire week to do 5 man hours worth of work because I'm only going to have enough time to do 1 hour of it 5 days at a time. Okay, I've said that I think enough. Okay. Whew. All right. So just to make this thing a little bit more complicated, we're going to throw another one in there. And that is, this is the one that drives people nuts too. The duration is not the level of effort. Okay? All right, so one more time. 8 roofers came out to my house and spent 4 hours. Okay? That's 32 man hours. Okay? Right? That is the level of effort. Okay? The duration is 4. Okay? 4 hours. Not the level of effort. Level of effort was 32 man hours. Okay. So duration is how long did it take from start to finish. And I don't care how many people you had. Well, I mean, I care because it influences the schedule. But the point is, if I have 8 people available, and if I plan on having 8 roofers there, I can get this done in half a day. Okay. All right. One more time. So, does that sound like a test question to you guys? Okay. Good. All right. So, obviously, in order to pull off some of these durations, I need to know what the crew size is. I need to know how many carpenters we got. How many roofers do we have? Okay. So, on the next page, they talk about there's basically 3 different ways you can do estimates. One is a single point estimate, and you can say, it's going to take 5 days. Boom. And the other one is a date range. You know, you're going to say, I don't know, 5 to 7 days. You know, and so you don't give them exactly. You give them kind of a range to deal with. And the third one is called a 3-point estimate. And hang on a second. Let's just pause for the 15-minute mark, and we'll pick this thing up in just a minute.